So hello and welcome to this comprehensive and extensive demonstration of the Snapshot. If you're tuned into this, you're watching this on CCC Confer Archive, and I'm going to walk you through the Snapshot and then give you the opportunity to download this archive presentation and review it anytime you like. So this presentation will last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. And if you have any questions after this presentation, you can contact Randy Beach at extension 5897 or at email address rbeach@swccd.edu. Why don't we get started by first finding the new program review snapshots and looking at all the different information that's available to you on the Institutional Program Review website. So under the faculty and staff link from our home page, you'll find the Institutional Program Review website. Once you get to this site, you'll see quite a bit of information intended to help support you in doing program review and providing you with support materials. Depending on the division that you're in, you'll see that there is a link for each of the 4 major divisions, including the superintendent-president. So depending on who you do your program review for, in other words, who you report to, you'll want to click on one of these 4 links. There's also a link here to our data resources website that the Institutional Research Office maintains. You can also review our Institutional Program Review Support Materials page, and here you'll find other videos, shorter videos, that'll walk you through specific sections of the snapshot, as well as other resources for how to download program reviews from SharePoint, or how to download your SLO and AUO timelines and action plans from SharePoint. There is also a program review sandbox. This is a version of our program review form that you can play around with. This version does not submit any information anywhere. It's just a place for you to play with the drop-down menus, play with the different boxes until you're ready to go into the live form. So that's just another resource that's available to you. Okay. So we'll go back now to one of the divisional home pages in order to locate the forms and the other information that's available to you. So on each of these 4 divisional websites, you'll have a program review cycle document that'll show you where you fall in the cycle of program review. When will your next comprehensive program review be due, for example, here. You also have a link to a guide for completing this snapshot. If you're more of a guide person, a person who likes to have paper in front of them, then you might find this guide useful. It provides you with some information to know up front about the program review process, and then each question is explained in this guide. Much of the help information that you'll find in the guide is also available in the actual snapshot itself. So depending on how you like to work, you might find the guide helpful, or you may just use the help information that's embedded into the program review snapshot. Okay. Moving further up this list of links, the next link you come to is the 2015-16 Program Review Form for Completed and Discontinued Action Steps. Now there are two types of action steps, if you will, in program review. One action step is something that you're no longer pursuing for one reason or another, meaning that you have completed it or there is no reason to pursue it any longer. And the form that I'm highlighting here allows you a place to document whether you've completed or discontinued an action step. The other kind of action step is going to be an action step that you are currently pursuing, or an action step that you have just started working on. So depending on what your review of last year's program review tells you, you're going to choose one of these forms to get started. If you've collected all of the completed program review action steps, or the action steps that you no longer wish to pursue, then you might begin with the 15-16 program review form for completed and discontinued action steps. When you reach this form, the first section is going to ask you to identify yourself through a series of drop-down menus. You'll be asked which level you are, and you can determine which level you are based on the due date for the program review. It's going to ask you who your vice president, or if you report to the superintendent president, you'll be asked to choose that as well. You'll be asked to choose which dean, director, or vice president you report to. You'll be asked to choose the program designator for your program, depending on what that might be, and then the name of your program from the drop-down menu. You'll be asked to type your name, the person who is primarily responsible for completing the program review. You'll be asked to type in an email address so that when you submit your program review, there will be a place for the final program review to be sent, and that's the email address that you provide here. Then you'll be asked to provide the year of the last comprehensive, and you should be able to tell this from last year's snapshot, or by digging into your files, or by going onto our SharePoint site, the Institutional Program Review SharePoint site, in order to look through the archived files of program review there. If you just can't find it there and you've emailed me and you can't find it, I can't find it either, then we'll just put I don't know. Okay. An important feature to mention before we move on to the next page, now that we have identified who we are, maybe it's time for us to take a break and we want to come back and work on this at another time. This form will allow you to save your answers and resume later by clicking on the link at the bottom, and this link appears at the bottom of every page of the form. I'll be prompted, are you sure? I'm going to say okay. And now what happens is a hyperlink is generated that I need to hang on to. The hyperlink will take me back to the form that I've begun working on, but if I lose this hyperlink, then I will have to start all over again. I'm also able to send the hyperlink to myself by email, but of course you want to make sure you get the email address correct. You don't want to type in an incorrect email address, because if you don't save the hyperlink or send the email address to yourself, then you run the risk of losing all of the information that you've put in so far. Every time you choose to save your answers and resume later, a new hyperlink is created, so it's important to keep track of which hyperlink you're working with. Otherwise, you might find yourself working with an earlier version of the form. This is why I would suggest emailing the form to yourself, because then the newest hyperlink will always be found in the most recent email that you've received from the system. So just some things to keep in mind there. Also, if you will be working with a reviewer or an approver, someone who wants to see your program review before it is submitted, then this is an important feature to keep in mind, because you can save your answers, resume them later, share the hyperlink with your reviewer, and that reviewer can either make changes, save the form, and then send you the new hyperlink, or that reviewer can simply look at the material, make comments in another way through email or on the phone or in person, and then you can click on the hyperlink and resume the work. If your reviewer makes any changes to that form, however, they must save the work and then provide you the newest hyperlink. We'll go back into the form then and continue the demonstration. As you can see, when I clicked on the link that had been generated, all the information I'd put into place is waiting for me. I click Next. And now I'm into the first section of my first action step. Now keep in mind that in the past we've used the term goals. And that term goal often became confused with our strategic planning goals. So for this cycle and in the future, we'll be using the term action step. An action step is a program-specific activity that you wish to engage in the next year to 2 or 3 years, short-term planning, which you can measure, or you've written in such a way that you can measure it, and you've written it in such a way that it's clear the time frame within which you hope to accomplish it. We call those action steps SMART action steps because they're specific to a program. They're measurable. They're assignable, meaning that there is someone who can actually do the work, and you might identify in your action step who that person is or who that office is. They're relevant to your program, And then they're time-bound, meaning that there is a clear time frame within which this action step will be completed, or at least you will attempt to complete it. A good example of an action step may be the English department hopes to increase pass rates for English 71 by 10% by fall 2017. As you'll notice, when I click into the field, help information pops up, and that help information is intended to tell me what exactly we're looking for you to put into this field. But going back to the action step, in the action step, I have provided a measurable action step. I've done so by specifying by what percent I want to move the needle on English 71 pass rates. I have made it specific to a department, the English department, and at the same time I've assigned it to the English department. Also, I've made it's relevant to the mission of the English department, and then I've made it time-bound by providing a deadline by which we're going to reassess how much progress we've made moving the needle on this particular action step. Notice that this action step is not a resource request. Often in the past we've listed as goals the acquisition or requisition of resources, such as hiring new faculty or building a new laboratory or renovating a space or buying a piece of equipment. This is in the new form, we're trying to avoid that by reminding you that the action step you create should be the vision for the program improvement or enhancement that you hope to accomplish by having additional resources. So in action step 1, you'll simply define what you hope to accomplish within a time period and make sure that that definition is measurable. And then when we get to the resources section, you can make resource requests such as new faculty or new equipment in order to support the achievement of this action step. Make note that any question that has a red asterisk next to it is a required question. So in this field, some kind of information is going to be provided in order for you to submit your form. And in the description, you can simply elaborate on what you hope to accomplish with the action step. You're asked to choose a status from the 3 options available, or you can type something else. You're asked to elaborate on the status if you do have anything else. If you don't have anything else to add, you can simply type in a few words. And then you'll be asked, would you like to add